All righty, welcome back here to Trader Money. Great to have you aboard. Let's go out and take a look at what some of the stocks are doing out there and how they're shaping up. And last day of the year, we saw some early movement this morning. We've been pretty flat for the last several hours. Are we going to get a sell off into the close here today? There's a legit possibility of it. If we do get that sell off, if we get some sort of strong pullback into the close, one of the things I want to do in that last minute, okay, 3:59 Eastern, I want to be a buyer of upside market, whether it be with some IWM calls, some SDS stock. Uh, I want to be in a position to be buying into that dip right at the end. Okay. Now, as far as playing for that dip, we're saying, you know what, that dip is going to happen. There's no guarantee that it's going to happen. One of the ways that we've played it in the past is with Google. Um, been watching Google here today. The overall price action has been pretty good here for Google, but if we kind of break down Google's chart just a little bit, okay, um, we can see here today. Let me go into a 1 minute. Okay, we can see that Google here had its kind of reaction low here this morning, 11:06. We're a long way away from that, so this isn't something where I'll be able to say, you know what, we break today's reaction low, let's go short Google. Okay. Um, we do have this reaction high that happened a little bit late. Um, that we could pin off of and say Google breaks 11:15.80, chances are that Google will sell off into the close, and we could kind of go after that and take it if it breaks 1:15.80. Um, and that's kind of what I'd be looking for from a downside trade opportunity into the close. Okay. Other than that, I'm really more looking to be a buyer. Okay, and I got a good email today. Do you really think the market can go any higher? And it's one of those things where the short term market looks overbought. The weekly market, we can see the trend that began in 2011 and the uptrend overall. Okay, the uptrend overall very very strong. Okay, but one of the things that tends to happen with upward trends, they tend to steepen before they end. They tend to just get even stronger before they end. We've seen some steepening over the last several months. Can it continue to steepen? Absolutely. If we take the market even here from a monthly standpoint, there's just there's nothing here that says it has to pull back. Will we get a strong pullback in 2014? I suspect we do. I suspect at one point in 2014 we see a 15 to 20% correction at some point in time. Maybe a very minor catalyst, but something to spark some fear, and where we will see some type of correction. Does that have to happen in January? No, it doesn't. And so far, everything continues to ride for the Bulls' favor. They have small caps in their court, small caps continuing their strong uptrend. Uh, the Dow theorists still have transportation stocks setting new highs, while industrial stocks are setting new highs. That's very bullish. If you look at the underperformers of the market, where are they? They're consumer staples, they're utilities, right? And those are going to be your typical underperformers in a very strong bullish market. Every aspect of this market, from high lows to breadth to which sectors are moving, they all continue to paint an ultra bullish picture. And really, the only thing the bears have is overbought. That's the only thing they have. And, in cyclical bull markets, overbought doesn't work real well. 2006, a lot of things looked overbought, and things just continued to mount and charge higher. Okay. So I'd rather kind of look to be a buyer here into the close. Now for the challenge, we're holding on to Boeing. I mentioned yesterday, we had the break of the 7. I'm holding this, gut feel a little bit. We got a little bounce this morning. It's kind of just consolidated up here above 136. Not a whole lot of action overall with it. I don't expect that, we'll mess with it at all here today. Uh, but I would like to go out and be a buyer of some other things. SPM, good comment here. You mentioned Tesoro would have been a real nice day trade. Yeah, and obviously I showed you the spread that I did on it yesterday, where it got into Tesoro here and bought the January 55 calls, sold the January 60 calls. Okay, and obviously that's performing, but also added a few extra January 55 calls from what I sold this morning when they opened. Okay, and let me kind of show you here on a chart. This morning when they opened, the option prices, by the time they were really tradable here, we were dealing with option prices that were you would probably have gotten 330 to 340 on them. You'll notice once some volume came in on the options, they were getting up here at 370, 380, and the options are now 390. And that's one of the things that'll make the morning a little bit difficult. And in hindsight, we say, well, the stock opened up all the way down there, but you can't get the option all the way down there. Tesoro today, the stock opened up at 56.60, but there was no way we could buy in reality. Now, in a virtual account, we could, but in the live, we couldn't buy anything at that level. And that was one of the reasons why yesterday, and I mentioned, I'm not really too concerned and too afraid to bottom pick it here, with a spread. The options weren't incredibly good, so bottom pick it with a spread, and hey, if we get lucky, we get lucky. And it happens to pop here today with gas and oil prices going down. Go figure. Valero was the same thing. Western Refining, kind of the same thing. Within that group, where it just didn't give a lot of opportunity in the morning to get into it. Okay. Um, Let me show you some of the stocks I'm looking from an entry standpoint as we head into the close here today. I really like the action in these Chinese internet stocks. The Baidu, the Sinas, the Sohus, the Qihus. I mentioned to you, I have some Qihus. Okay, uh, I think this is going to be one where the entire sector here kind of mounts a charge, continues to go higher. They're all above their sevens. They're all in bullish modes. They all had reasons to break down a few weeks ago and didn't. Okay, is one going to outperform the other? Sure. Can we pick out which one is going to outperform? Not necessarily. Baidu will probably be the big outperformer. I think Qihu probably is the more risky of them, but there is a chance of Qihu having one of those mega surges, which is kind of why I went after it. Just a little bit more return potential. But does it matter that one's up 1%, the other's up, the other's up 2%, the other's up 1.5%? No. They're all kind of continuing in the same direction, the same strength. We do have Chinese New Year coming up. I was asked today if that'll affect these, and generally, historically, no. We have not seen a major effect with some of these Chinese names around New Year's. Okay. That's one area that I like. Another one here, Medtronic. Okay, and I forget who it was. One of you was talking about ISRG yesterday, right? And ISRG is doing a really nice job of building a base. Their next earnings report, if they're able to kind of erase any of this from back here in July and come out with something favorable, I think investors are really eager to jump into ISRG. Medtronic is a similar company, but with a much better chart. And Medtronic made this really nice surge here in October after triggering the Trend Rider Bull, has had a nice pullback, had this breakdown here mid-December, snapback has been consolidating here. Again, low volumes. Is it ready to break out? Can it dance around a little flat a little bit longer? Sure. But as far as one that has some strong breakout potential, I really like Medtronic and the overall setup here with Medtronic. Again, probably not getting until near the end of the day, and we'll look to get in there. But from a risk reward standpoint, we can play with 57, have a very light risk, and this is something that we would expect to go to a brand new high here with Medtronic. Yeah, C-Trip. This is an interesting stock. Trend Rider Bull, right? Yesterday, some weakness. Today, some further weakness. Um, this is the danger of buying the Trend Rider Bulls after these high volume downticks. Kind of like Chesapeake. We're in the Trend Rider Bull after this high volume downtick. When the selling comes in, sometimes it can just be really fast and really aggressive, and that's what we're seeing with C-Trip. I'm not sure if there's any news here. Let me go check because it's not a stock I follow on a day-to-day basis here um, with C-Trip. Yeah, I mean just some basic stuff, nothing on the surface. But look, this is a China stock here, and it's going to be volatile. I don't know that it matters the breakdown below the 7, as this has been in a consolidation area. I think you do have risk of it breaking down and really going low, but it's one I would struggle to get into right here, but I would not hesitate to be a buyer of on any type of strength coming in. A lot of times, and one of the dangers with playing these Chinese stocks is some of the news, as far as the news cycles and everything else. It's just a lot harder to pin down and understand what's making it move. Why is money going in or out one day after another? Something like General Electric, you follow it for a long time. You kind of start to pick up on the general patterns with some of these Chinese internet stocks. It's just not there, and so you're really forced to simply go technicals there. Okay. Joe, great question on Medtronic. What do you see that counters the lower high, lower low on the chart for a possible upside entry? Really good question. Let me show you. Okay. Chinese very manipulative. Yes, there are a lot of arguments that the China stocks are highly, highly manipulated. Okay. Yeah, let's take a look here, Medtronic. So we have this consolidation going on, right? Is what we have, and this is a consolidation with lower lows and lower highs. Okay, and that's what we've seen over the last 2 months. So the question here is it ready to break out of this consolidation? Because if we change our view just a little bit, really we're dealing in an environment with higher highs and higher lows. Okay, we kind of zoom out. Let me go to a weekly chart here. Okay, and if we zoom out, we're not dealing with a downward trend, right? We're dealing with higher highs and higher lows the whole way up, where we go through periods where in the short term we have lower highs and lower lows as we come off the tops and come to the bottom of the downward channel. Went through a period of lower highs, lower lows here in June, July before the breakout. Went through a period of lower highs, lower lows back in 2012 before the breakout. So on one hand, we can look at it lower highs, lower lows, and that's what we're seeing short term. The thing with Medtronic is long term, we have the higher highs, higher lows. We have it having dipped below the 7-week moving average. We're starting to push back above that. And with Medtronic, as it does that, that's generally the time it's ready to move. And so, from a daily standpoint, that's my question. Are we ready to move? Is it ready to start to break into higher highs and higher lows here in a way that it's chaseable? Okay. So that's kind of the counter to it, and saying, you know, yes, we are buying something that's been consolidating, pulling back. I would feel much more comfortable, Jill, if Medtronic had upside volume. Granted, we're not going to get that at this time of year, but I would sure feel a lot more cozy, even if we had normalized volumes that it's ready to move. You'll notice here in July, after it had kind of gone through its consolidation in June and May, which it doesn't show on here, it started to push up on lighter volumes. Okay, overall, but Medtronic has had these surges, these good volume surges, reacted really well to the breakdown where the potential of it breaking higher is still there. It's still in a vibe bull signal, right? Our 50 is still rising. Our 100, our 200 are still rising. We have a fresh MACD cross, bullish cross recently. We're finding some support here around the 50-day moving average. We have a lot of good trend in the longer term, and this really is more what looks like more of a pullback of that broader trend that's just waiting to kind of break out there. Okay. And again, it's kind of where it's set up here. We could use 57, be really tight with it, and say, look, we break 57, we'll look for another opportunity when it's ready to move. If I were going to buy Medtronic longer term, I would get a lot looser of a stop with it. Okay. Even in what we talked about today with some of the 391 aspects, Medtronic has those. We've been in a consolidation, right? The trend has fallen off. The trend has fallen off. We're now in a low trend period. We've been consolidating now for a long time, and chances are that the stock's ready to break into another trend. The 391 pushing above 50 indicates chances are it goes to the upside. We have a positive DI here as well. And so, the odds are favoring new highs here. Doesn't necessarily have to happen, but that's kind of where the technical odds are at there. Yeah, Spectra Energy here. This is an interesting one, and I don't believe the options are very good on it. Let me go double check that here. Um, yeah, they're not as bad as I thought. Um, the spreads are a little bit high overall, but Spectra Energy, this has been in a longer term consolidation, right? I mean, Spectra Energy has been one of those. There are a lot of these stocks that surged in the first half of the year, and in the second half of the year have just consolidated in a very bullish format. Okay, in a very bullish format. And, this move is strong here for Spectra Energy. It's a nice run. Um, is it one I would buy into? Probably not, simply because it's now a little far from the 7, a little far from, even the 20-day moving average. It's a little extended. I would look for some sort of pullback opportunity to get in, but it's one that I would expect to perform quite well in 2014, given what some of the long-term chart is doing. Um, IBM has been one of the dogs of the Dow, been one of the big losers on the Dow this year. In fact, the biggest loser. It's one of the only stocks on the Dow, I think the only stock on the Dow that's negative on the year is IBM. And IBM's kind of in a similar thing where on a weekly chart, we have the downward trend that it's now breaking. That's absolutely breaking, and I guess that's not the same as Spectra Energy here, but it's an illustration of kind of the weekly chart looking really really good. The daily chart going, even for IBM, saying, "Man, I sure wish I could buy in on a pullback." And who knows? We may never get a pullback on it. Okay, may not get any sort of pullback in the near term at all. Okay. Um, yeah, no problem, Joe. Great. Yeah, to chart the option prices, just simply right click on the ACX or any of the letters beside the bid and the ask. Just right click on it, come down to TOS charts, and just fill in the box here. Okay, and it'll plot out your option prices, show you, where they've been. It'll show you the volume on them, on those option prices. You can see the volumes coming in here. Uh, so there's probably Max out there buying 1,000 contracts of Spectra Energy, right? Some of the others that I think are very interesting right here. Okay, um, Verizon. This isn't one of the dogs of the Dow overall, um, but it has been one of the underperformers this year. Cisco, McDonald's, AT&T, Caterpillar, and IBM are the weakest five, but Verizon's in the bottom category. But Verizon here recently has had, it had those really strong up move. It's weakened as interest rates have risen, and it's bounced just recently, just a little bit, low volume overall, but it's been consolidating in a very interesting spot. This is one where, maybe from a daily standpoint, doesn't necessarily look incredibly strong. But if we go out to the weekly chart, okay, we have some very interesting head and shoulders continuation type implications here, with our shoulder here, our head here, and another shoulder potentially forming. Okay, which would be a very, very bullish aspect. And even the volumes are favoring the bulls here. We have high volume into the run up, the early run up, kind of that early 2013 participating. We have some increased volumes on the sell off. We have some increased volumes on this. The volumes are even higher on this last leg up, and now the volumes on the sell side have been lighter over the last couple months, and now we've had some heavier buy side volumes coming in. So even the volume picture very favorable for Verizon and for this potential of this kind of head and shoulders continuation pattern. It's not one of the dogs of the Dow, but it has been an underperformer to see money rotate in. Very possible. Yeah, bottom five. Cisco. Okay. Well, I'll go from the biggest loser. IBM, biggest loser. Okay. IBM. Caterpillar, number two. Okay. And even when you look at Caterpillar's weekly chart, Caterpillar is, from a long-term standpoint, from a short-term standpoint, looks overbought. From a long-term standpoint, this was a really fun stock to trade in '09. This stock hit a low of $20 and went all the way up to 110. Just incredible move. Has underperformed the market ever since, but it's catching up to some of the incredible buying that came in. Now, even on a monthly, you see it starting from this kind of consolidation mode, starting to break up. Okay, starting to break up overall. This is number two as far as the dog here, dog of the Dow. Number three is AT&T. Okay, Verizon, AT&T. You can kind of see the consolidation going on here with AT&T. The chart looks a little bit different than Verizon, but still has that consolidation for 2013. Okay, it was one of the outperformers in 2012. Another one, McDonald's. Okay, McDonald's number four, which is a very interesting chart on McDonald's. McDonald's is extremely compelling. McDonald's has suffered a little bit this year as China has suffered a little bit. McDonald's also kind of had a few management blunders as well that haven't helped it. But if we pull McDonald's out, yes, it's been an underperformer, but after its really strong 2011 and outperforming tremendously, it became one of the dogs last year. Early in the year, this year had an incredible run up from 85 up to 100. Has pretty much weakened ever since, but has had this kind of bullish consolidation. We start to see McDonald's, trade up, even at this level right here for McDonald's, I think is a compelling buy point, especially if you're an investor or looking to, to hold on to something for the next year or two. McDonald's is a very interesting one. And the last one here is Cisco. And Cisco had a nice earnings at the beginning of the year, popped all the way up to 26, but has just been ravaged. They missed basically two earnings in a row and just got ravaged where they're down almost 30% off their highs from mid-year. This has been one of those strong underperformers of the back half of 2013. But you'll notice all five of these are still kind of they're starting to show really interesting signs of life as we head into 2014. Okay. Um, Yeah, UNG, possible short trade. Look, I'd much rather short UNG than long UNG. Okay, I get very hesitant to long UNG because it tends to underperform over time. Um, UNG coming off as some of the cold weather spells are snapping across the country. Look throughout this time, we were dealing with across the U.S. Just significantly cooler temperatures than normal. Now the temperatures are coming back to normal. We're seeing a pullback in natural gas. Can you play it lower? Yeah, you can. Do I think it's a technical trade? I don't, and I don't follow all the fundamentals closely enough to say, yeah, I really like this short or really like this long. To me, this kind of in no man's land. It's come down. It's come down, a good percentage to where it could start to bounce at these levels and just go into a consolidation. But at the same time, weather stays warm. We can see natural gas prices just plummet. Okay, just plummet here. Okay. Yeah, Richard, MMP. Oops, go back to that. MMP. Interesting stock, Magellan, and it's not one that I follow very closely. Um, Look, the trend is bullish. The trend is absolutely bullish. In the short term, do you have a little, do you have some extra buying coming in at the end of the year? Yeah, but this is a little difficult to want to chase into. But anything like this, the Kinder Morgans or the MMPs or something like that, these are going to be more long-term holdings, not short-term trades. A lot of these are dividend plays, and you see the overall trend here, just continuing to move up. There are worries that some of these might get a little bit of a haircut if interest rates continue to rise, but so far no real sign of that happening. Okay. All right. So some of the ones that I'm watching: Verizon, McDonald's, Medtronic, very interesting setups here. Qualcomm. Okay. I mentioned the other day I got into a little bit, and I want to add more if we close above 74. I will look to add this for the Trend Rider or the Vibe here today. If Medtronic is able to keep its strength into the close, even if it pulls back a little bit into the close, I will still probably add some here on Medtronic, or excuse me, here on Qualcomm. The overall chart very bullish. We have Trend Rider Bull, we have Vibe Bull principles in play. If you go to some of the stuff we've talked about recently, we have ADX. The ADX has been recently starting to rise. The overall trend of it is still going up. We have a fresh move of the 7-day moving average above the 20-day moving average, a fresh crossover. The 391 is in a strongly bullish position. Qualcomm has fantastic attributes here. Okay. Apple. Apple getting a little bounce here today, up about $5. I was really hoping Apple would pull back $5 today, and I'd step in and buy it right now if it were down $5. If we look at this from a shorter term hourly basis, my concern with it bouncing here is okay, does it come back and retest this lower band? That's my concern from a technical standpoint. Does it come back and test this lower band? If the market gaps up real big New Year's Day or the second here on Thursday, to see Apple gap up to 555 and run, could be a reality. And I think there's much more upside potential than downside risk. It just hasn't from a end of day trading standpoint given a great little entry here today with the little bullish engulfing. We have some volumes building here today. Definitely good arguments to get in to Apple, and we're seeing that not only in Apple but in Google, in Amazon today. We're seeing these kind of bounces coming in. Even the Facebooks and the Twitter. They're not all bullish in nature. The Twitter is more of an oversold. We just went from 75 to 60. We're going to bounce a little bit, but the Apple, to me, this bounce is quite compelling. The danger you have here with Apple, you don't want to have a tight stop. Why? Look at the consolidation. The Bollinger Band's tight. How long is it going to stay tight? I know some of you were in Apple long throughout this consolidation here in November. That's a painful long time. Uh, can it start to move, come January 1st? Absolutely it can. But with the bands contracting, this is the danger I think you run into. Not a danger of a big old sell off, but more of a danger of consolidation. Quest Diagnostics, Mac. Yeah, I do. I do like the short setup, heavy volume on the sell off, November, December. This is one that's kind of been breaking down here for a while, even from a longer term standpoint. I mean, Quest Diagnostics is volatile. It's been one that I've traded many times, but it can be very volatile. But breaking key levels, bad news. It's one that I don't have incredibly high hopes for overall. Okay. All right. All right. Let's go take a look here at one other thing I kind of want to show you here. I want to pull up some of the scans and just kind of show you what they look like. Um, let's take the Vibe Bear scan. Okay. So looking for bearish Vibe signals. There aren't a whole lot. Okay. There are a few. Four. Uh, Commercial real estate, Cameron, which has just been beat up recently. Okay, the big gap down, and it's had a rebound now, breaking below the 7, with the moving averages tied down. PG&E Corp, kind of made famous by Aaron Brockovich, right? Utility breaking down, okay, and Red Hat. In Red Hat's just kind of been on, huge gap up. Moving averages haven't connected, and yeah, it's just below the 7. But this is nothing to short here, so very few on the short side overall. On the long side, okay, on the long side, if we kind of come and just do the Vibe Bull on the long side, take a look at the difference here. 25. Okay. Um, you don't really see this a lot with fresh new upside triggers coming into the market on a lot of stocks at the last day of the year. We're seeing a few more than normal. Okay, a few more than normal. I mean, Morgan Stanley. Okay, Morgan Stanley. What's your danger? Well, consolidation, right? But with a fresh move above the 7, moving averages all tied up, we still have strong bullish undercurrents here. Okay, to me, the best trades on the board aren't necessarily things with fresh signals today. Goldman Sachs bullish, sure. Definitely bullish. Are these the best trades on the board? Not necessarily, but it's buying something that has been in a bullish trend that maybe's pulled back a little or at a level where the risk reward makes sense. Okay. Um, yeah, Google here. Google, this is one where, I mentioned before that this has been one that, we've had some success on the last day of the year selling or buying puts on into the end of the year. Okay. But it's not really setting up well for that today. Could it pull back strongly? Yes. This morning its reaction lows all the way down here at 11:06. I'd feel comfortable shorting it if it broke this morning's reaction low, but the chance of it going below 11:06 are pretty slim to none. At this point, if it broke about 111 or 11:16 here, okay, maybe a short into the close, but that's more on a day trade standpoint. On a daily standpoint, the uptrend remains very strong. The volume still favor the bulls. It's had a nice little 5-day consolidation. Tried to weaken below the 7 here this morning. Snap back above that. Some decent volumes coming in. You do have some negative divergence on some of the indicators, but really all that is because of this gap back here, and it's going to be hard to have the same momentum on any sort of rally that a gap is going to give it. Okay, that a gap is going to give it there. So I like Google higher. I like Amazon higher. I like Apple higher. I think this group goes up. And I'd rather be long them into the new year than short them. But Google will be one that I'll definitely be looking at into the close above 11:20 here. If you look at it from an hourly standpoint, Google found the support here 1110 above 1120 says okay, we're breaking into a new high. Probably see more kind of auto buying happen at that radar or happen at that level and to move up there. Okay. All righty. Well, thanks for hopping on. John will be with you on chat here for the next hour. I'll be kind of going through different charts. We'll probably get into something as we head into the close here, but it won't be till kind of the last 15 minutes, if that, just depending on what this market does into the close. As I showed you this morning, we have a chance of a 5, 10, even 15-point pullback into the close that would mean nothing from a technical standpoint, and that would probably just gap up that same amount on Monday. If we're not able to do it from a site standpoint, if the market pulls back, let's say 10 points into the close, I want to buy some IWM calls. May not be able to buy those till something like 13.59. I'll show you. I'll go buy them, but I won't be able to send out an alert or anything like that. Have it be an official Trader Minute trade, but we'll look to go do that here. All right, thanks for hopping on. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.